Now, I do believe that in the beginning of feminism, which is women's suffrage, etc., they had the right idea. I believe that there were many who had a genuine desire to help women become liberated from certain restrictions when it came to the law, etc., right? Something as foundational as the ability to vote, the ability to own land, etc. That's like simple, basic, foundational stuff. But fast forward into the modern day, and what feminism has devolved to, instead of evolved to, has become, I believe, one of the greatest creators of misery, dysfunction, and toxicity within the lives of women. You know, like they often say, like a woman's greatest enemy is the patriarchy or the white man, but I would actually have to disagree with that point. I would say that a woman's greatest foe, her greatest enemy, is another woman, or more specifically, a jaded woman. A woman who is miserable will ruin another woman's life. For example, there will be women who will see you. Let's say they are friends, sisters, cousin, whatever it is, somebody who has influence over you as a woman. They will see you, let's say, having a successful relationship where they themselves don't have one. They will push messages to you such as, well, you know, you really don't need a man. Or, are you sure about him? Or, you know, you're better off just being free than being tied down to this dude. Or you're too young, you need to go out and explore. All these sorts of messages. And I've seen mothers who give these types of messages, you know, to their daughters, etc., which is the craziest level of sabotage that I've seen. It is the very nature of perpetuating a generational curse. But, you know, back to the point at hand is feminism and the idea of what feminism has become. It went from I want equal rights to I want to be better than you and I don't need you. Now, I am a believer in the radical idea that men and women make a beautiful union. When the masculine and the feminine come together, it is a beautiful thing. I am still a believer in those old school Neanderthalic, you know, traditional Bushman ways, right? I don't know about you, but that's me. I believe when we come together in relationship and we have a solid bond, a solid union, we can create beautiful family structures and we can create a healthier community, society, you know, and world at large. However, when you have these far leftist ideologies such as, you know, third wave feminism or the modern version of feminism that teach women that you must compete with a man. So don't be what you are in your femininity. Don't find your strength in your femininity. Don't find your power in your femininity. They say find your strength in masculine virtue. Find your power in masculine virtue. Be not only as a man, but be better than the man in the game that he is playing. And we see this played out in the most toxic ways to where even, you know, women are told, well, a man's going to go out there and just slang his thing any way he wants. So I should be able to do that. Now, I'm not a believer that anybody should be slanging their thing anywhere. I'm not a believer that, you know, the hookup culture is good for anybody. It may on the surface value look like, oh, well, this person's getting, you know, what they want. They're getting pleasure out of it. But short-term pleasure can oftentimes lead to long-term misery. And that's what happens within the hookup culture. And so when it comes to, you know, again, what feminism has been pushing as an ideology is to say, well, if he does it, anything you can do, I can do better. There was that little thing back in the day, right? Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you. No, you can't. Yes, I can. No, you can't. Yes, I can. It's that mentality on steroids. Anything that is masculine is dejected. It's a very strange dynamic where it's like this idea of the patriarchy, this evil system. And me as a black man, I know what it is to have this idea crammed into your head of like there's a system of racism out there that's out to get you. It's the system of you know, it's institutionalized racism is the system that's working against you and it's why you can't succeed. It's the very same thing with the quote unquote patriarchy, right? It's the system that is looking to suppress women. And so you move through life jaded already. You move through life believing you really have a chip on your shoulder. And so you believe the only way I can defeat the system is to tear it down, which is men. So you externalize that as, oh, that must be men. So whatever a man is, I need to tear that down. And that's how we've gotten to this place of really soft boys, right? I can't even say men necessarily because manhood is There was a sequence or a process one had to go through to become a man. You see, there was a rite of passage that made you a man. So you can be a male and you can be an adult male, right? You could be of this gender, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have actually evolved into manhood. It doesn't mean that you have attained manhood. Just because you have the ability to impregnate a woman doesn't mean you're a man. Just because you got a bankroll doesn't mean you're a man. There are certain virtue that you have to develop. There are certain attributes of your character that are developed to become a man. And so, again, masculinity has been stripped at its core. The masculine virtues have been belittled. And then there's been a quote unquote leg up to say, women, this is how you become more. This is how you deal with, all this suppression that's going on, all this, oppression that is taking place. You must become him and better than him. Go out and chase that job, do this and that. Completely deny and neglect your femininity. Leave that behind. It does not discard your femininity. And then you wonder why you're so miserable. You wonder why in those secret moments when you're away from whatever think tanks, whatever silos and echo chambers that you indulge in with these individuals who are perpetuating the same message, you step away and you feel like you're unfulfilled. Why is it that I still feel hollow and empty? And I've been guilty of pushing a message without giving the whole context of like self-love, etc., but also not giving the other side of this is supposed to lead to, a greater external expression. It's not just so you can love yourself so much. I don't need no man. Like I've never actually had the full belief of I don't need no man. I don't need no woman. I believe that we actually do quote unquote need each other. It doesn't mean that we need the validation of the world to become whole, but it means that there is something wired in us to come together and to create and to procreate, to love, to connect, to be bonded. That is as natural as air that we breathe, So back to this point of feminism is it gives women the illusion that the way that you attain happiness, the way that your life becomes fulfilled is by becoming what a man has exclusively been able to become. Right. And remember after World War II, where a lot of women had to go into industry and start working because men were being shipped off into prison, literally shipped off into prison. I mean, not into prison. That's Freudian slip. Shipped off into war. Damn Freudian slip. Shipped off into war overseas. So women began to work. And after that, now we had a society where women were integrated into the workforce. The employer saw that, well, this might ramp up our workload. And so, they started pushing the propaganda to say, women, leave your houses and come to work. And that could be a beautiful thing. This isn't an anti-work, anti any of this. It's to say that there are virtues and qualities of the feminine. There are virtues and qualities of the feminine that are exclusively feminine, and they are beautiful. And they are a perfect complement with the masculine perfect complement with the feminine, but yet they're being pushed out of women by feminism, which is ironic because it has the fem root word, but yet it is anything other than that. What it's become is to say, go get the bag, go conquer the world, go build empires, go fight people. Like, you know what I mean? And then women wonder why they're so miserable. Unfortunate statistics, but 70 to 75% of Black women who have been the biggest receivers of this feminism push, of this feminism propaganda, and you can see it in just the abortion rates, right? Black women are 5 times more likely to have an abortion than white women, and they're only 7.8% of the population. That is insane. That's not an accident. That is intentional. And 70 to 75% of these Black women are unfortunately unmarried and never will be married. Now, I believe this is going to change, and that's why individuals like myself and many others continue to speak truth to power and do so boldly, even if it means backlash and ridicule and death threats, whatever the hell comes with it. We will continue to speak truth to power. And the reality right now is that because of this feminist mentality and ideology, Black women are suffering as well as all other women, because others follow that same trend. Is where single mother households are now the expectation. They're now like back in 64 and before that, 1964 and before that, a Black family for you to have no father in the household, or to not have a wedded bliss, I guess, or at least be married. Maybe I don't know about the bliss part, but to at least be married and to have a child in that context, to not have that was out of the norm. It would have baffled the minds of the people around you. It would have been an anomaly. Whereas in this day and age, it is the norm. It's the expectation. People actually go out of their way to become a BM, a baby mama. Dudes are looking to become baby daddies. And this isn't a slight to women. It's not a slight to men. It's a slight of an ideology that it must be exposed and it must be eradicated from us completely, because it has not been the thing that it promised to be, which was an aid to women's liberation, an aid to women's empowerment. I mean, look at the hookup culture. What did hookup culture do for women besides create more turmoil, create more chaos, create more dysfunction, more broken homes, more broken hearts? What else did it do besides that? That's the question I would ask you straight up. What did it do besides create more dysfunction? I have not heard a clear and succinct answer from anybody yet when it comes to these subjects. They may fight for, feminism, they may fight for it. They may use all these straw man arguments, but when it comes down to it, it has not been beneficial, but instead has been the mere opposite. It has been detrimental. It has torn families apart. It has torn people apart within themselves. It has led to more of the very same dysfunction manifest in even more powerful ways. That's the reality. And so we have to call these things out. And I used to be afraid of addressing certain situations because I was bullied by, the woke ideology, or the woke cult defends itself by making sure nobody else can address certain subjects. It's like, you're not black, you can't talk about black things. You're not a woman, you can't talk about woman things. No, I'm a human and I have freedom of speech, and I will exercise my right of freedom of speech. And I will speak truth to power, even if there's forces that don't want me to do so, because they want you to stay in the very same misery that you're currently in. You want that relationship, you want that marriage, you want whatever it is. And, they sell you on this thing of you don't need it. And also it's not out there. And so you are on both sides being flanked with a message of hopelessness, as opposed to there are plenty of good men out there. I'm not saying all men are good men or all women are good women. There are plenty out there, but you can only become a match to that. You can only recognize that and even know the qualities of such when you let go of this detrimental and toxic belief system that is feminism, or that is the woke ideology that keeps people miserable. Simple as that. I know it's not an easy message to hear. It's one that you want to fight, because that parasite, of ideology, that feminist parasite in your mind is thinking for you and feeling for you and fighting to defend itself. It's like the old identity fights tooth and nail to keep itself perpetuating. Because as soon as you let it go, you're now in the quote unquote unknown. And that unknown, there is beauty to be experienced there. Everything you want is on that other side. You can't see the people who are married and enjoying it. You can only see your own bias of, well, people are married and miserable, and 50% divorce rate and all of this not going to work out. Your bias can only allow you to see what you have been indoctrinated to see. That's how the reticular activating system in your brain, not to get too damn technical, but the RAS, the part of your brain that allows you to focus on individual things instead of being overwhelmed with all information, right? That part of your brain is only fixed in and focused on the ideas you continue to feed yourself. And when you have this, this loophole of feminist ideology, you're going to stay in the very same sequence. You can only see the misery that, feminism perpetuates. Simple as that. Y'all got to free yourselves from this mentality if you're going to have the life that you desire. I promise you, the life in your heart of hearts, not the one you project out as a protection mechanism. The true life that you desire.
I used to be afraid of the dark, a place unknown like a heart in their heart. I used to see my life in the bar. Now the kids unchained, every shackle is lost. 2 steps in the moonlight, 2 step in the daytime. You just know when it feel right. You got a feeling the time's night. See you through those shades that I just threw on. Through my lenses, you just can't do no wrong. I fell in love with myself again. I fell in love with myself. I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking.